Jake.
Welcome back. Welcome.
I said, oh.
Oh, man. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob ENT podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. Fellas, how y'all doing tonight?
Doing good.
I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good. Can't complain.
You already know we got to start off with the house rules. Make sure you subscribe, share, like. Make sure you rate us and review us 5 stars, please. We're trying to educate the algorithm because we're not trying to be here for a good time. We're trying to be here for a long time. NBA All-Star Weekend is going to be in the docket today. We're going to talk about the second half of the season, what we're looking forward to. We're going to talk a little bit about Bron. And I think it's cap about having a farewell tour. He don't like attention. All that is on the docket today. Heavy basketball. No football as of yet. Stuff is going to be happening. We'll bring it up. And for those that's watching, like, hey, Justin Fields situation, we already talked about that 15 episodes ago. I'll drop it right here. You could go watch that episode, but we already touched on that. All-Star Weekend. What was y'all thoughts on it and any ideas of how to fix it, actually? My thoughts on it was completely booty. Sabrina Steph was the best thing of it. The three-point contest came in second, and Mac McClung had one good dunk. Everything else, I was literally like making my bed during most of Saturday night with no care in the world. So that's how I
felt. Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. I don't know how you change it. I don't know what you do to make it different than what it's been. But it's become unwatchable. It's become unwatchable at this point. So I'm not even sure what the NBA does. I mean, the actual All-Star game itself is a travesty. They could do a lot of things to fill that airspace as opposed to having those guys play basketball because they're not even playing. And it's clear to me now that the only reason why they ever played remotely hard or made the game close at the end of a game in years past is because Kobe was there. Because Kobe only knows how to play basketball one way, so he would want to compete, and so would Chris Paul. And those two guys would make the game a little more serious at the end. And now both those guys have, obviously Kobe not being with us, but then Chris Paul not being an all-star player anymore. Now that they're not involved anymore in it, you can tell there's just no one there to make it serious anymore. It's just these guys don't take it seriously. They're trying to preserve themselves for the second half of the season, which we hear all the time. And yeah, you don't want anyone to get hurt, but anybody who plays basketball, who knows the game, knows that you can play moderately hard defensively without taking crazy chances like going to contest dunks on a fast break or taking chances in that way or gambling a bit too much defensively and putting yourself in a position where you can get hurt, diving on the floor and diving on people's legs. You don't have to do that and still play hard, still compete defensively one-on-one. And they don't do that. They don't even try. They don't even fake it. 200 points is ridiculous. Everybody who's involved in the All-Star game should be ashamed of themselves. It's actually insulting. It's actually insulting. I mean, Cat, going 50 points as if like it means something, and he's geeking over his 50 points. And Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard. It's just a joke. I mean, no one cares to watch these guys go out there and shoot the ball from half court or whatever. It's cool, you can do it, but we've seen that trick already. We like to see you guys play hard. And consider, it's just a shame. It's just a shame that, the All-Star game, as we know it, is dying before our very eyes. Because, I mean, you can put money on the line, but how much, right? That you can't put in-season tournament money on the line because these guys make 80 times that. They're all All-Stars, they're all max guys. So what amount of money motivates them? Charity didn't motivate them. Giving to the kids didn't motivate them. That didn't work. So what are you really going to do? You can. I think you should replace with a one-on-one tournament. But then what will happen is guys will get scared because they'll think that because they, if they lost, they'll be like, oh, well, if I lose, the cons outweigh the pros. Because if I lose, then I'm gonna be a meme, and people gonna be talking about my legacy. I lost to this guy one-on-one. So there really is no fix. It's kind of it feels like we're in the same kind of weird situation the NFL's in where they can't put a good product out there for their Pro Bowl. The NBA can't put a good product out there for their for All-Star Weekend. Maybe they move the weekend to after the season. Maybe because the season's over at that point, those guys will want to compete. Maybe that's all I can think of. It's really a shame. It's really, really a shame because that should be the best pickup game in the world, and instead it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. But yeah, we'll continue talking about the All-Star. I want to give Miles a chance to chime in. Maybe he has a solution better than what I gave because I can't give you one.
No, I mean, I don't really have a solution, honestly, if I'm being frank. Like, that weekend was boring. Like, usually, like, growing up, you look forward to All-Star Weekend. You're like, yo, the dunk contest, that's the biggest thing. Like, who cares about going out during the weekend? I'm like, I'm focused on that. You're focused on the All-Star game because you're like, I want to see the stars and see what crazy things they do. I think the last time it was like actually somewhat competitive was when they had the tribute for Kobe, and the format had changed and made it a little more intense. So they were actually playing defense. They're actually diving for loose balls. Giannis is picking up LeBron full court and all that stuff. But now it's just like you just going through the motions. And then if what I'm hearing, like Larry Bird and Dr. J have to go into the locker room to tell them, like, hey, respect the game. I want you guys to play hard. Like, it's an all-star game. You can't even get that from them, then I don't know what else you can really do at this point. Like you said, everybody's worried about injuries, the second half of the season. This is supposed to be really like a break. Then all right, if that's how they view it, then just take the all-star game out. And we'll make the rookie versus sophomores or the Europeans versus the US or the G League. Build it around that instead of building it around the All-Stars if they don't care enough to compete. Like Carl Towns had like 50 points, and I would have never known. I would have never guessed that he had 50 points that day. I mean, but 211 points scored in a game, I mean, that's a joke. Like they made a joke, and you could tell by the tone of Adam Silver's voice on Sunday that he wasn't happy with the product. I'm sure he had talked to them before the game, like, we need to make this more competitive. And yeah, that's not what we're getting. So I don't know. I hate the way the All-Star game is played. I hate how it's almost become a joke. Like growing up, you would get guys who would actually play defense. You'd see crazy moves. You want to see like, hey, let me see T Mac versus Kobe. Let me see this matchup versus this, because you're like, all right, this is the only time where you get the best players on the court, and you're expecting them to rise to the occasion. I mean, they rise for USA basketball. They're not worried about getting hurt there because they're playing for their country. But like, the fans voted you in to be an all-star, and you almost kind of spit on the coaches, spit on the fans who picked you to be in the All-Star game by not giving it your all, even if it's like 80%.
Yeah.
Hey, when they start caring, I think that's when we'll start caring again. We've seen it. There's a perfect example. They got more competitive runs with Brickley.
Facts. And that's terrible.
You're right, though.
More competitive runs doing that, and nobody's talking about being injured there. For those that's watching this on the replay, the Kentucky game is currently on. So,
Wow. The way they just lost was insane. Kentucky out was a tough one. Actually, that's how we lost tonight. I feel that pain. It's how Columbia basketball lost tonight. So I get it. I'll also just say too, before we move on, it's the Jaylen Brown's, like his dunk contest and the way he went out there made me. I will never like Jaylen Brown. I will never like him. Forget the fact that he is a Boston Celtic, but like I don't like him. I don't like looking at his face. What did he go out there and do the other night during the dunk contest to have Kai Cenat, who is, and Shannon Sharp put it great. He is 5 foot flat. Have him sit down sit down in a chair. Bring out Jason Tatum. For what reason? Lord knows. I know he threw it off the glass. I don't even know what he did. Is that what he did? Whatever. Threw it up. You missed the first one. You're jumping over nobody. You're jumping over air. You missed the first one. When you do the dunk, you don't go between the legs. You don't go behind the back. Bruh, you just dunk it with your tongue out. And on the way down, then you do the D Brown on the way down when you're on the floor. Then you do the D Brown. He is a goofy. Can you bleep me out? He is goofy, bro. He's goofy. He is so goofy. He's an unserious individual. He's unserious to go out there and do what he just did during that dunk contest. There wasn't one dunk he did that was remotely impressive at all. And I bring him up, not to I'm singling him out. I am, but it's indicative. It's really emblematic of how bad the dunk contest has gotten, and it's past saving. It's past saving. Jaylen Brown was the biggest name in the dunk contest in a long time, which is a damn shame. And for him to go out there and do what he did, and to really put no effort or thought into his dunks at all, it's really a shame. It's really a shame because they're gonna have to do away with the dunk contest altogether, or remake it. Just get all G League guys. Get guys. If you're gonna do it, just get guys we don't know who are able to dunk the ball and be really creative and put on a show, rather than try to hunt for big names to do it. You know what I mean? Like I think that's the way I look at it. And so it's just really a shame. Like the whole thing. Yeah, Sabrina versus Steph was awesome. That was great, and they should do more things where they incorporate WNBA players into these competitions, especially 3-point shooting contests where they can be equally as dominant as men, right? I think that's great. I think it's amazing. I thought it was really the highlight of the weekend, the entire weekend. But when you're saying that though, when you can say that, that means that the All-Star weekend is broken. When that's the highlight of the weekend, when that's the highlight, it's a broken product. You can't. It's a joke. And Silver should be upset. But you know what? He ain't Stern though. And I think David Stern would have brought the hammer down on these jokers. That's what I think would have happened if he was around right now. God rest his soul. So I think Silver's a bit too nice. He's been trying to be everybody's friend, and they're kind of walking all over you. And and you're gonna have to figure out a way to kind of restore some order to this whole thing and get these guys to play hard, just even a little bit, even if it's just for the final quarter. Make it worth watching at the end. It was always like we could always count on the end being good as well. Because getting that collection of players in the court in an all-star game and they're not playing hard is a joke. It's a joke. It's really like a travesty if you really think about it. And especially when LeBron's just one of his last few years. Like it's just sad to see it happen go out that way.
Man, I don't have no more words on it.
I don't like Jaylen Brown.
It's literally I completely agree. That's like me dunking over Omari. What are we doing here? Exactly. What are we doing here?
Yo, you can't look at that dude the same no more. He's a clown.
I mean, I think Kai Cenat was taller sitting down than standing up, so I guess I get it. I understand.
He didn't put him in a high chair. He put him in a regular chair. Yo, it was so bad that Jason Tatum couldn't gas it up. He was like, that was ass. That's what he said.
You wasted my time. I came out here in this nice jacket to throw it. He didn't even throw it off the backboard. He just threw it straight up in the air.
That's right.
Like, no. That dunk, also the goofiness, you putting on the Michael Jackson glove for what reason? And literally, it was beautiful because it was a video that came out yesterday or today where he was dribbling and a bunch of kids took it out his left hand. So left hand still is a problem. It was a bunch of little kids stole the ball from out of his left hand. Now, crazy thing is we always talk about people getting fired on their day off. In between All-Star weekend, All-Star break, Jaque Vaughn. I don't know if we want to say fired. I don't know if we say he was dismissed from his job. I don't know what terminology you want to use because sometimes you see ESPN use different terminology for black coaches, but the man don't have a job no more. He's going to get paid because he just got an extension last season, so he's fine. What's your thoughts on the Jaque Vaughn firing and like where do the Nets go from here? For those that do not know, as of right now, the interim coach is going to be Kevin Ollie, but they already said Kevin Ollie's not the answer. We're going to be searching heavy in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he can get you guys a national championship if that's what you goal is.
You know, it's funny. It's funny he says that too because I actually hope the guy does great and he keeps a job. I hope he does a great job. He proves he can coach in the NBA level and he keeps the job and he's the guy. I hope that happens. It's unlikely because you know what the Nets are going to do is they're going to go out there and look for a higher profile name that they think a star will want to come play under, and the name that comes to mind is Mike Budenholzer. I think it's going to probably be him. He's the best coach available, right, and the most proven coach available, and he's won a championship. So I think he's got the guy that will likely be the person they go after in the offseason. But we'll see. We'll see. I think the Nets have dreamed big before coaches. And they went after Ime Udoka. That was the thing. They just didn't hire him because of the backlash they thought they'd get in addition to the Kyrie stuff, because it was right around the time Kyrie was on his anti-Jew nonsense. And when he was on that, it was hard to bring in a guy who had been in trouble for messing around with his subordinates up in Boston. Like, it's just hard, cheating on his wife. It's just a bad look. And that's why they worried about the PR look. They should have probably just hired him, to be honest. They should have just hired him. That's what you wanted. You should have just hired him, dealt with it later, because Kyrie was going to be gone anyways in a couple months. So it made no difference. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. Because the last thing I'll say about that, I think it's a bit ridiculous. It's ridiculous to criminalize Ime Udoka for doing something that people do all the time, and it's not a criminal act. It's just a crappy thing to do. But it's not like he was a criminal. So that's my only thing about it. You know what I mean? But maybe that's just my thing. We talked about it as if it was looking back. We talked about Ime as if he was some kind of pariah. Okay, no, you're a piece of, you're a bad dude for doing what you did to your wife. That's wrong. Or excuse me, your girl. I don't even know. I don't think they were even married. I'm not sure, but cheating is wrong. All right. And so for him to do that was wrong. But let's not act as if he robbed a bank or committed arson. And listen, he ain't do no craziness like that. He's not a criminal. So just give me a break with the Nets on their high horse, and we can't hire him because of the look. You had Kyrie on your team, anti-vax, promoting anti-Jewish propaganda. He was more toxic to the brand than we may ever would have been. Period. That's just the way I see it. But anyways, back on topic. Yeah, I think Mike Budenholzer's name. I think there'll be other guys they'll go after and look at it too. I think there's plenty of candidates out there that you'll consider first-time coaches, young guys, up-and-coming guys. But I think that ultimately they're going to go after a guy like a Mike Budenholzer. It just makes a lot of sense. And maybe I know there's rumors that Jay Wright could maybe consider coming out of retirement and come to the NBA. I highly doubt it. I just don't think that's going to happen. Plus, you're taking a risk. Sean Marks can't get this hire wrong. He's hired. This will be the fourth coach he's hired in his tenure, right? And he shouldn't have fired Kenny Atkinson in the first place. Also, another thing, I know that was more at the request of a guy. Exactly, because of Kyrie and Ken. Another gift that Kyrie and KD gave us, right? Another one, but God, I hate those guys. I hate them. I hate them. But yeah, I think that he has to get this right. He has to get this right. He has no choice but to get this right here. If he gets it wrong, I mean, he's already on thin ice here as well. But I think the Nets shouldn't let him go. I've heard a lot of the conversations around Sean Marks and him being fired, having a long leash. I don't think people understand because people don't care about the Nets. I understand. So you're trying to talk about something you don't know about because you're not really paying attention. When he took the job, it was a complete disaster. I mean, they were starting guys that were just, off the street, guys that weren't even pro level players. It was disgusting. Fresh to the move to Brooklyn, and they bring this guy in, and we went from starting Isaiah Gutierrez and Chase Budinger at some point, starting those guys and losing a million games, to then all of a sudden having Kyrie, KD, and James Harden on the roster. That's what he did. That's what he oversaw that. So no, he gets more leash because you pulled that off. It isn't your fault that Kyrie's is a whack job, or that James Harden's hamstring just fell apart, or that KD's foot is too damn big. It's not your fault. It is, those things happen. It is what it is. He deserves the opportunity to try to see this I don't even want. It's not a rebuild. You got to call it a reboot. This reboot through. He deserves an opportunity to do that. And also, last thing I'll say about the Nets' long-term vision, long-term with where this thing ends up, it's obvious. They think that Mikal Bridges is a perfect player for another superstar to play alongside. They have inside information, and I'm telling you what I know. I'm not telling you my opinion. They have inside information that another superstar in the NBA wants to play with Mikal Bridges. It's probably Donovan Mitchell. That's just from what I've been reading, what I understand, what I've been hearing from little team insiders. They didn't say his name, but they hinted at it. And so they think that Donovan Mitchell wants to come play with Mikal Bridges. You got to remember that Damian Lillard wanted to also play Brooklyn. It was a spot for him that he was thinking about. He wanted to go to Miami #1, but Brooklyn was #2. So you got to think about that too. So I think that they're going to try to use Mikal Bridges to lure another guy in so he can build around those two guys as foundational pieces and reboot. So I think that's the plan. And it's not a bad one. Just got to get through a tough season. It is what it is. Right. But I don't think things are as bad as people want to make it seem. It's just a tough year. It was going to happen when you lose a great player like Kevin Durant. It's just going to happen, but it's not a big deal. I think the Nets are in a pretty decent spot. I mean, you're getting out the Ben Simmons contract. You can lure it around. It's expiring next year, so you don't have to deal with it much longer. And you got tradable assets everywhere. You got Dorian Finney-Smith on the roster. You got Cam Thomas. You got Cam Johnson. You got guys you can trade in any deal with 1 million draft picks and cap space. So really, you get through a tough year, you'll be all right. But I think they're going to be fine.
Now, you mentioned Ben Simmons. Greg could talk to this. Moss could talk to this. What type of offense, at least for now, because we can only talk about the now. We don't know who's going to be on the roster next year. What type of offense should they run? Because one of the issues that they said with Jaque Vaughn that Mikal Bridges had an issue with was that he was trying to have Ben Simmons be the focal point of the offense, which I don't know why he was trying to do that, being that he is barely there. What should they be doing on offense with this roster?
I told you this in the group chat. I said they're funny that they're complaining about offense and who takes shots and who it's centered around when the problem with this team was defense the entire year. Defense was a problem the entire year. They don't defend, and they have great defensive players on the floor like Mikal and Dorian Finney-Smith and Dennis Smith Jr., and they can't stop teams from scoring the basketball. It's a joke, and it was coaching. And Jaque Vaughn deserved to be fired because of the defensive lapses. As far as offense goes, he's an idiot for planning things around Ben Simmons. I see the appeal in why you might do that. When Ben Simmons is out there, they do score more easily because he gets the ball off the rim. He's a great passer. He creates easy points for his teammates. He really does a great job of doing that. There's no way around that. But he's not a focal point. And so if you're talking about the offense now, what they should do, if I were them, I'd probably go all in on a heavy dosage of Cam Thomas, handling the basketball up top out of pick and rolls, and then having Mikal kind of play off of that, play off of it a little bit. And then, also putting the ball in Mikal's hands a little bit too. But I'm going with those two guys, and I'm riding and dying by those two guys. And then you have Dennis Schroeder up there, and he can facilitate and create for those guys and get in the paint and spray it out for open shots for Cam Johnson and those guys. You just got to go heavy, perimeter-oriented offense, right? High ball screens, Nick Claxton rolling. You're looking for you got guys on the opposite side who can hit jump shots as well. You got shooters on the floor. So I think that's the way you want to go. And then obviously whatever Ben can give you, great. Wherever you fit in. But we're not planning this party around you. That's not how this works. And so for Jaque Vaughn to do that and hitch his wagon to Ben Simmons, that's crazy. He had a lot of belief in Ben Simmons. And if I were Ben Simmons, I'd be a little worried because your best friend, that was your best friend. He's gone. And so Kevin Ollie already said, like, I'm looking for hunters. Like, Hunt, you're not going to play. My interpretation of that is guys who are on goal all the time. We're going to go get it. Guys who want to compete. And I don't always get that. Let's be honest. We don't get that vibe from Ben Simmons. So we'll see what happens. But I think you got to go just heavy high ball screen guy offense with a guy like Cam Thomas. See how it goes. Let him build up his stock a little bit more.
Miles, I know you don't have much to say about the Nets. So looking ahead to the second half of the season, we're going to start in the Eastern Conference. What are some of the storylines, some of the players, the teams that you're looking forward to the second half of the season? Just to give people an update before we even get into it, Boston right now is the number 1 seed. Cleveland's the 2nd seed. Milwaukee's the 3rd seed. The Knicks are 4th, Philly at 5, and Indiana at 6. The rest are those play-in squad teams.
I mean, I think I want to see how this Doc Rivers and Milwaukee thing shakes out after the All-Star break. I think, yeah, Doc Rivers is going on tour right now and talking a lot of stuff about how he wasn't looking for this job and he wasn't sure why they were coming to him. It does sound like a lot of excuses, but like they did have a tough stretch leading into the break. They did lose some bad games going into the stretch, so hopefully they've fixed some of those things. I don't know. They've got 2 of the best players in the league right now in Dame and Giannis, so I would hope that's enough, but they don't really defend, so that's another one of their issues. And I don't really see this working with Doc Rivers. I feel like he could be another one and done, and then now you're running into more issues where now Giannis is blowing through coaches like no other. So that this will be like what 3 or 4 in the last year or so. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the Knicks to see, like, they've made moves, they've made trades, a lot of depth right now, which is necessary because we have a lot of injuries. And I want to see how we do coming out of this All-Star break with kind of trying to get back on track. We've lost a few games going into the All-Star break, which makes sense because we've lost the majority of our team, it feels like. I feel like we're playing with Taj Gibson and Luol Deng right now. But I think as long as we got Jalen Brunson and we got DiVincenzo and Hartenstein's out there kind of holding down the fort on defense, I think we'll get good enough production to win more games and kind of hold down the fort for Julius and OG to heal up. Because there's no reason for them to rush back. Like, we need them for the playoffs, not for March games. So I'm looking at that, and then I want to see if Boston is for real. Like, I feel like we ask this question every year because they seem to be in this position almost every year. You could just slot them in as the number 1 or number 2 seed in the East, and you almost expect they'll make a finals run if everybody's healthy and they get hot. And on paper, they've got the best team in the East right now. Their front line, KP, you've got Drew Holiday, Derek White, Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They've got so many pieces and so many different lineups they can run out there. You'd think, all right, they should cakewalk to the finals, right? But for some reason, it hasn't been that easy for them in the playoffs. So I want to see if Tatum turns it up a notch since he's looking to be the face of the league in the next 3 months, I guess. Not when Bron's time is done, but when he steps up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think you hit a lot of the main points on the head, bro. I mean, looking at the season and where it goes for me, without touching on things you touched on to be redundant, I think the thing I'm going to be mainly interested in is the Lakers and to see how they finish out the season. If they can finish out strong with what LeBron's health looks like long term. Obviously, he's not playing on Thursday because of the ankle. I think that's just maintenance stuff, so it'll be okay. But he's also 39, so you can't just brush these things off. So we'll see. But I want to see how they finish out, and ultimately, if there's a real contender in the West, up against Denver Nuggets. If someone can really emerge and really give that team a hard time, will it be the Clippers? Will it be the Lakers? Will it be? I know people will look at me. People would look at you on the outside looking in, saying, "Will it be the Lakers being a contender?" As silly, because no one's taking them seriously. But a team like them, they can get hot at the right time, and they can continue to build and get guys back healthy as the season ends, and they can finish it strong. I think they're one of the winningest teams in the league in February. So I'm interested to see how they finish out the season for sure. But can someone challenge Denver? Can someone actually give Denver a hard time? Is there really going to be someone that can knock them off? Because last year they ran roughshod through the West. They took care of business in the West. So I would love to see that, to see a team give them a hard time, regardless of the team, whoever it is. I'd love to see a team really push them and really challenge them this season. I don't, I also will Phoenix expose themselves as frauds because for me, I have questions about Brad Beal's long-term health. I think he got hurt right before the All-Star break. Funny enough, I think he got hurt. He was a hamstring injury or something, and so he's just been constantly injured. I mean, constantly injured, and you don't get healthier as the season goes on. It's not usually the way it works. Obviously, I hope he gets back healthy so that way we can get the best product possible. But I think Phoenix has their issues. The Devin Booker point guard, experiment hasn't really worked. It's been a failure in my opinion because Devin Booker is best when he's attacking and looking to score. It's just what he does the best, better than anybody else at his position in the NBA. And when you're asking him to do something out of character, just so KD can get touches, I'm gonna tell you again. I'm gonna tell everybody this again. Devin Booker is the best player on the Phoenix Suns by a fair margin. He's better than Kevin Durant offensively, anyways. Defensively, you have your debates. That's fine because I don't think that Devin Booker is a great defender, but I think he competes defensively. But I think the best offensive player when it comes down to it in crunch time on that Phoenix Suns team is Devin Booker, and the sooner the Suns realize it, the better off they'll be. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if Kevin Durant's turnovers issues rear their ugly head in big games again. That's another big thing with Phoenix that I'm really looking at as well. So those are two big ones. I don't know if Miles mentioned Boston. I'm sure he probably brought it up just in passing. But Boston, can they get out of their own way? Can they get out of their own way? Will Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum fold again when it matters the most? There is no excuse for those guys not to win a championship this year. And I'll tell you what, if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum don't come to play and don't get the job done in the playoffs, they're going to get Mazzulla fired. Mazzulla's going to get fired because there's no reason why with a stacked roster like that you could even have any excuse. And then also, no Embiid. Embiid's out the way. He's out the picture. You know what I'm saying? Your biggest adversary here is the Knicks. And no offense to the Knicks, but if you go play the Knicks in the playoff series, you have the best player in the series by far. Jason Tatum is the best player in that series. He's the most talented player in that series. He is. There's no question about it. So for you to lose that series, in spite of the fact that you have the best player in the series, you're going to get fired, and you will deserve to get fired. So there's a lot of pressure in Boston. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, I'm not guaranteeing that if they played the Knicks in a 7-game series, they'd beat the Knicks. I don't think that's the case. I think the pressure is a factor in this whole thing, and is a part of the reason why it may not go their way. You know what I'm saying? Also, I don't believe in Jaylen Brown using the left hand and all this nonsense. I think he's unserious. So we'll see what happens. As I've already said in this podcast, but there's no reason, there's no reason for them not to get to the finals at the least. So will they get there? We'll see what happens there. That's another big thing for me. And obviously you talked about the Bucks already and, a lot of things like that. But I think those are the biggest storylines. Can the Clippers sustain and actually get it done in the playoffs? And can Kawhi and them boys, the guys, actually, play big in the biggest moments and show up when it matters most? We'll see. I'm not a Paul George believer in the playoffs, guys. Not going to do it. And you know how I feel about James Harden. He's only a year older than he was last year. We saw he did last year. He has less responsibility in this offense. Cool, but I am not a Clippers believer. I am not a Clippers believer. But we'll see if they can actually get out of their own way and then really compete with Denver and things like that. So we'll see. There's things to watch for this year. but I don't think that there'll be any major surprises. I think Denver, Boston, Milwaukee, you have to give them that credit just because they're well put together. They got to get out their own way. Those are the teams that can win the championship. Those are our favorites, but we'll see what happens.
On the player side, I'll just be looking forward to certain players to see how they finish out the season. Does Donovan Mitchell stay on this heater for the rest of the season for the post All-Star break, especially with possibly DG coming back, getting back to a rhythm? Is he able to keep it going? Luka, he's playing at an all-time high level. Mainly with Luka is he going to get consistent help? I like the trades that they made, but for Luka and what he wants to do, we talked about this a little bit last episode. If Luka wants to win, I don't know if it's enough in Dallas. 40, 45 points to win games is not a good thing. Like, we like it as fans to watch it, but for him having to drop 40, 45, 11, and 8, nah, that's not a formula to win on the biggest stage to go deep in the playoffs. And of course, I want to see what's going to happen Golden State and the Lakers specifically. How does LeBron finish off this season, and how does Steph finish off the season? Two players past their prime, you would say, balling out, having crazy seasons again this year. So I want to see how that finishes out, and I want to see both of them right now at a 9th and a 10th seed for the play-in. I see both of them moving up, and I am intrigued. Last thing is, like, right now, the top two standing in the West is Minnesota and OKC. I don't think, honestly, that they end off as the top two seeds. I think Denver is kind of like Miami, but they have like Nikola Jokic. So they could lax, in the regular season. They looking forward to the playoffs, but they are actually still good. I think Denver picks it up. The Clippers pick it up. Those will be the top two seeds. I think Lakers move up. Golden State moves up. I can see, especially with Zion's up and down, I can see the Pelicans dropping a little bit too in this second half of the season. They're going to need Zion, and he's in and out the lineup. Minutes restrictions, it's not going to work. And Phoenix, they just not healthy. 33-22 is actually a feat to be able to have won 33 games with Bradley Beal out for out of those games, 20-something games he hasn't played. D-Books had a couple injuries. Kevin Durant had a couple injuries. One of their best players right now is Grayson Allen. That's a lot to be able to get 33 wins with Grayson Allen being one of your top players. So second half of the season is going to be just like every year. This is going to be it's going to be a lot of playoff games in the regular season for the second half. Because that Western Conference is, as per usual, the East is top heavy. Western Conference, the Jazz might mess around against the play-in conversation with how Sexton and Keontae George is playing. So I'm real intrigued. I like Keontae George too.
Me too.
He has to be on one of the rookie teams for sure. He just tied the record for most three-pointers in a game by a rookie.
Yep.
I really like Keontae George. We're going to end off the show. Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the only thing I forgot to mention is I actually, long term, I don't think that Kyrie ends up seeing his whole contract through with the Dallas Mavericks. I think they're going to end up moving him, or something's going to happen there. They're going to break it up. I think this season will end the way it ends. They're not going to win a championship. And they're clearly making moves to try to win a championship. It's not to be competitive and get to the Western Conference Finals. They already did that before Kyrie got there and blew up that team. You know what I mean? With Jalen Brunson and Darren Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie. So I think that their goal now is to try to win a championship, obviously. And I just don't think that the Kyrie and Luka backcourt works. Defensively, it doesn't work. Offensively, it's fine. It's a good fit. Obviously, they're both really great offensive players, but defensively is where the main problem is. And from a team chemistry standpoint, there's just issues there. So I think he doesn't see his full contract through there. That's my thing. I really don't. I know people will say, you hate Kyrie, blah, blah. Yeah, I do hate Kyrie, but I can also tell you the truth about Kyrie too. I can do both. I can dislike him and be honest. He's a great basketball player who happens to also be a jackass. Both things can be true. It's okay. I'm just saying, but I don't think so. I think from a basketball perspective, the marriage doesn't work between him and Luka. I think that if anyone who knows basketball can understand that, for a bunch of reasons, two ISO heavy guys, and then defensively, both guys don't compete defensively. So you really have a hard time there. I mean, Luka doesn't even try defensively, so I have someone next to him who doesn't play defense either and is small and undersized in comparison to bigger guards. Good luck. So that's just my hot take there. Or not even hot take, just a reasonable take.
And to hear Jalen Brunson come out today and say that he tried to stay in Dallas.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a discount.
Yeah.
It was not the contract that he was getting in New York. Shout out to JB for getting to New York and getting that bag. That's well deserved. And respectfully, honestly, it's still at a cheap price because the way that he's playing, he deserves way more than that contract. But most teams, most people did not see this coming. But that was locked in. And no, Jalen Brunson's been a winner since Villanova. He's been a winner going back to college. He just needed the stage to be able to get busy. He was playing next to Luka. You see how that is. You ain't gonna be able to fully shine. You can't fully shine next to a supernova. It is what it is. JB was a star, but that was a supernova he was playing with.
If the people listening to this podcast, they knew that when that whole situation happened, when he went there in free agency, I said it. I told people he's gonna be an all-star guy for them. All-star for the Knicks. I said it then. So if you listen to this thing, instead of going to your first takes or your whatever you go to, whatever podcast, whatever, you would have been heard that already. But that's okay. It's okay. People catch on late. It's not a big deal. It's fine.
All right. We're going to end off with a cap of facts, a couple games. One, we just mentioned, Cat had dropped 50 in the All-Star game. So I'm gonna name these 4 players. Let me know which of these players did not actually score 50 in an All-Star game. Anthony Davis, Steph, Cat, and Dame. Which one of these never scored 50 in an All-Star game?
I'm gonna say Dame.
I'm gonna say Steph. I don't know why I feel like Steph didn't do it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Dame, his high was on Sunday was 39. Actually dropped 50. What did he drop? 51 2 years ago?
Yeah, he was on fire that game.
He dropped 51 2 years ago. So Dame's the one. I would have thought he was on that list too, but literally his career high was only 39, which was this past Sunday, which is light compared to what we've been seeing.
Maybe Steph had like 18 threes one year, and it was probably recent. So yeah, he went crazy.
Cap or facts, LeBron James will not have a farewell tour.
Cap.
I
mean,
yeah.
Did Jordan have a farewell tour?
I mean, every year in Washington was a farewell tour. That shit was. That was over. My bad, yo. It was over.
I think the farewell tour thing kind of wasn't a thing till like the later 2000s. I feel it was like you retire, you retire. They didn't do farewell tours back then. But for LeBron to come out talking about, he don't really like attention and all that, I'm like, all right, come on, Bron.
Let's be real. He's going to use that footage, that farewell tour footage for his documentary, which will be epic. And by the way, he deserves a farewell tour. All right. If that's the thing that people are doing these days, he deserves it. He has carried this league for all of my adult life. Well, Kobe and him were obviously doing, we're partners there in that, but he has carried this league for so long and been just the best representative for the NBA ever. He has been the best face of the league ever in terms of no scandals, no nonsense, clean image off the court, right? And even if he on some nonsense that we don't know about it, and that's the point. We don't know about it. I gotta get conspiracy theorists to tell me that he's a chronic gambler, or that he's sleeping with yes Jules or whatever. People thought nonsense just to smear his name, and the fact is that you have to try to do that because there's nothing for you to actually find, because he's been a model citizen to the public eye. And that's all that really matters. That's all that really matters. And so he has been the best representative for the game ever for that reason. Okay. Because Jordan was, out here, denying his teammates food on the plane, and what else did he do? He was a chronic gambler and all this nonsense, man. He looked like he smoked 10 packs a day. Like, that was his thing. He wasn't the nicest dude. He wasn't the nicest dude. We all knew it. All right. But you didn't care. You called him Black Jesus anyways. I understand. It's fine because he could jump and he was a great player. I understand. But
thinking about that is wild. Calling a man Jesus that's a chronic gambler and smokes like 6
Black Jesus, bro. You know that. Yeah, like he looked crazy. It was crazy. The praise was insane. They idolized the man. And he wasn't like he was clean like Bron. So I'm just saying, like, really, this is not a crazy thing to say. LeBron has been the greatest face of this league ever in terms of level of skill and the player himself, which you guys can debate all y'all want. Fine, just not with me, because I'm not gonna do it. But also in terms of what he is, as who he is as a person, what he's been off the court, how willing he's been to speak up on issues, to even tackle them. Oh yeah, and that's another thing. Jordan didn't want to speak up on issues. Jordan was like, hey, well, Republicans buy sneakers too, right? So, hey, man, like LeBron has been a model citizen for this league, and he's been the best thing that happened to the NBA. And in my lifetime, you can argue about that between him and Michael Jordan. I understand that. But as far as like the model citizen part, you can't. And so he deserves a farewell tour. He deserves a moment. He deserves to be recognized. He deserves to go to every arena in the NBA for them to shower him with the adoration, and for him to have a last game like a Kobe had when that time comes. I don't want to think about it. A LeBron-less NBA is going to be a very hard NBA for us to come to grips with. And I think that people need to prepare themselves for that part. Like, because who's next? Who's the next face? It's not John Moran. He went out guns blazing. It isn't Anthony. It isn't Anthony Edwards. I just don't think it is. Anthony Edwards has had his fair share of nonsense off the court that we don't talk about because he's in Minnesota, so no one cares. All right. But let's just call it this. Let's just say he's Anthony Edwards. We know what it is. If you know, you know. So like, what are we doing? Like, there's no next phase. Jokic don't want it. Jokic literally just punches in, punches out. And he has his PTO saved up and he uses PTO. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no next face. It's not Tyrese Halliburton. It's not. He plays in Indiana. No one gives a damn about him. It's you got to be honest with yourself. There's no next face of this league. And that is a bad thing for the NBA because you're not going to have guys watching this game. It's not Jason Tatum. It's not him. It's not him. It's not him. So it's really hard to be the face of a league. And it's a special thing when you can find that. And for the NBA to be in a situation, you got to understand, like, people need to hate somebody. People need to gravitate to somebody. It was good when people hated LeBron when he went to Miami. That was a good phase for the league because those Miami Heat games are doing crazy numbers. There is no one to hate because y'all don't care about them. Y'all don't care about them. Yeah, you don't care about these next crop of superstars. So or stars. So it's a tough place for the NBA. When he retires, we're all gonna miss LeBron, whether you hate him now, whether you loved him the entire time, whether you appreciated him, whatever. You're gonna really miss that guy when it's all said and done because what he did for this league is immeasurable. It's immeasurable, the impact he had on the NBA. So that's my little rant. It's my little rant.
What about Wemby?
No, he's European.
What?
I mean, sure. Look, did the American consumer connect with the Europeans like that, like to where he can be the face of the NBA? Here's the thing. Here's the reason why Wemby can't be the face of the NBA. Because if you look at the face of the NBA and every other generation, Magic Johnson also counts as one. because he was the face of the league before he, sexed his way out of it with HIV. So the reality is every guy has been a guard, flashy. There's some pizzazz to the way that they play the game. Like there's a flashiness there. Wemby is a marvel, a physical marvel, but there's no real flash to his game. It's not like kids can't go out there and like want to be like Wemby. Like you're not gonna be 7'5". You know what I mean? You can't want to be like LeBron either, but like there's still that flash in the way that he plays the game. There's still the no look passes, the chase down blocks, the crazy what's it called, dunk, right? The iconic reach back dunk. There's you know what I'm saying? Like Wemby it doesn't gonna have that. His brand already isn't that. His brand won't become that in his time in the NBA. It just won't, because like what do they call him? The alien? Does he have a nickname? He don't got a nickname. Does he have a pregame ritual? He don't even got that. LeBron got the powder, the chalk toss. Are you kidding me? It's hard, man. Like Bron had dudes wearing arm sleeves and and headbands. Like it's hard. It's just hard to be the face of the league. I think Wemby could be the best player in the NBA at some point. That's fine, but that's making the face of the league. You're not as marketable. Maybe in France, they'll love you in France. Cool. That's great. They'll eat croissants and watch you play, but it ain't gonna be like what it is for Bron. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if I'm making sense. I hope I am.
I need you to get out my notes though, because I'm ending off the show asking Kappa Facts and Jason Tatum, the new face of the league after Bron. So I need you to get out my notes, because that was how I was ending off the show.
He's not though. He wants to be. You saw the interview with Malika Andrews. He wants to be. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like if he gets a chip or two, then he could be in that conversation. I mean, how old is he? Like 25, 26? So
he's that
still
young?
Yeah, he's not that old yet.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the league for a minute, so he's a vet, but like his team has had a chance to win. Like if he had won a couple championships by now, then all right, now we're talking to he's in that conversation. But they haven't won yet, so I can't really put him up there just yet. But let's say they win this year. All right. Now the talks start happening, I feel like. But Bron's got another like 3-4 years left, so we don't have to worry about that.
Well, if you don't take it in these 3-4 years, you're not going to get it though. See, the hope is that in the next 3-4 years, a kid comes along who's just generationally special, and we can just kind of coordinate the kid and start him from scratch. Because the way I look at it is, you don't got to be the face of the league from the second you enter. Like the problem the NBA had is actually that Steph came a little too early, because Steph really overlapped with Bron, which was not a good thing for the league. It was good in terms of rating in the moment, but if Steph was a bit younger and then he came in and LeBron phased out, you'd have your guy. You'd have the answer. He actually has the marketability of a face of the. It's not always about being the best player in the NBA. It's part of it, but a lot of it is just like, oh, I want to be like Steph. Steph became an icon, right? The shooting from deep, right? The Chef Curry, right? Like that's something that Wemby don't have. It's something that Jason Tatum don't got a nickname. We know Jason Tatum more because maybe your girlfriend likes to watch him play a little bit because he's light skinned and has the hair like Carlito or whatever. Like maybe that's why, but like it ain't because of marketability really. He plays in Boston. It don't mean the same thing to play in Boston that it meant in the 80s. It doesn't mean, you know what I'm saying? It don't mean the same thing because there are no more rivalries anymore. There's no more. So really, you only got some white kids rooting for him because all the white people root for the Celtics, and that's it. That's it. So it's not even the same. It's not even the same. Like the marketability ain't there. He has an ugly signature shoe line. It's disgusting. That matters. Let's talk about it. You want to talk about face of the league? That matters. Ugly ass shoe. Just sorry. It is what it is, and apparently uncomfortable. So all those things matter. They're not even selling like that. He's not. He doesn't have mystique about him. There's no mystique. It's not there. It's not there, guys. So we're in trouble. We're in trouble, Miles. We're in trouble, Tone. I'm telling you, like the NBA's in a real bad spot. The NFL got blessed. Tom Brady retired. Pat Mahomes came along. Here we are. Pat Mahomes. You ride for the next 10, 15 years. We got our guy. Every Pat Mahomes game going to sell out. That's what we're doing. We're gonna 4 o'clock game. If I need someone to go to get ratings, I'm going to Pat Mahomes, or I can go to the Cowboys because rivalry still because the team still matters in football. We root for teams, not players. But the NFL and the NBA, we root for players. And the problem is there's no player who can take the mantle that LeBron's about to leave behind. There's no one to give it to. There's no one to give it to. Think about it. It ain't Tatum though. It's not.
I mean, you saw what LeBron said when he was on Inside the NBA. He was talking about Anthony Edwards and Shea as being like two of the guys that he thinks could be the next face of the league, which I mean, I can see that too. Like Ant's got the charisma, he's got the skills, he's stepping into his own.
Mm-hmm.
All he has to do is win. And then same thing with Shea. Like Shea is unreal when it comes to scoring the basketball. And like off the court, he's got a brand. He's got Puma, he's got fashion. It's somebody that people all over the globe can kind of look to and be like, all right, this guy is like exuding confidence and he's the coolest guy in the league right now. So those are two of the guys that I think more so than Tatum. Like I don't know. Yeah, like
Tatum has no chance, in my opinion.
I mean, compared to those two guys, because Tatum, he's
those two guys
so
are already
nonchalant and all that. So I don't really see him as a threat unless he's like rattles off like a three-peat or something like that, and then maybe. But I just don't see that. I think we might eventually start seeing a lot more parity where each year we have a lot more competition, a lot more teams compete for the championship than what we saw when Golden State and Cleveland were going at it, and it was kind of like that scenario. So
people say they want that and they don't really want that. What you want is someone to dominate the sport, and you start to build the hate towards that guy, and you tune in to watch them lose because you see people will talk about LeBron's final record, but you leave on the table. What you don't talk about is the fact that he was the reason why if you rooted for a team in the Eastern Conference, your favorite player didn't win a championship. He went to the finals. What was it? 11 straight times? 10 straight times? Whatever it was.
I think it was 10.
10 straight times. So he won the East 10 times in a row. 10 times in a row. It was like, yo, it was death, taxes, then LeBron going to the finals for 10 years. For 10 years. And people are they want parity, but they really don't want parity, guys. If you want to hate somebody, that's what's big in sports. Y'all hate Pat Mahomes now because he's building a dynasty. Y'all hated Tom Brady. He had a dynasty, and we all watched. We all tuned in to watch those guys lose. You guys, hey, the Knicks fans from back in the 80s, back in the 90s, tuned in to watch Jordan lose. You're tuned in to watch the Lakers, Showtime Lakers lose, Magic Johnson. You're tuned in to watch Bird, Parrish, and them fools lose. You tuned in to watch them lose. That's what y'all did. Y'all tuned in to watch them lose. You needed a reason to hate them. And in doing so, the popularity of sports skyrocketed because those guys became bigger than the sport. LeBron is bigger than it became bigger than basketball. Jordan was way big. I mean, come on, right? So I'm just saying, like, you want parity. You really don't. You really don't. And I just don't see anybody with that brand. And also, here's another thing before we wrap up. Yo, one thing we got to talk about with this whole thing with the face of the league stuff is the face of the league historically has always risen to the moment. Like they lived up to the moment. LeBron in Boston, Eastern Conference Finals, legacy on the line, all the pressure in the world, 45, 15, 5. Get up out of here, Boston. Bye. Jordan, three-peat, three-peat. Like whenever we thought it was over, he won. Tom Brady, whenever we thought it was over, he won. Pat Mahomes, this year, no receivers, he won. Right? Like the face of the league, rise up the pressure field moments. Has Jason Tatum done that? All I've seen is with Jason Tatum pressure field moments is a streak of brown liquor going down his leg in the big moment. That's all I've seen. So as far as I'm concerned, you don't unsee that. It's already over for him. He can't be the face of the league. Because when we called his number, he didn't answer. He wasn't picking up the phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to answer the call if you're that dude. That's all I'm saying. You got to do it more than you got to do it more than you don't answer the call. You got to answer more times than you don't. If you're going to be the face of the league, and we have too many guys who just are too iffy. Like I said, I mean, I thought maybe John Morant could be the guy, but he shot out.
Don't be
He shot out.
surprised.
He shot out literally.
They still, I'm sure they still want and hold hope that he'll get it together. Because I mean, I think he's one of the guys that definitely was on track to being one of the faces of the league. Because you look at him, he's explosive. He talks trash. He brings the excitement that you want. And like Memphis was building something, and then yeah, last year kind of derailed things, and then injuries this year. But I mean, he's still young. It's not like I mean, I'm sure they had hoped Zion would step up at some point too, but you got to put the fork down.
Zion's out of it, so we can stop. Okay, you start messing with porn stars, you already out of it. I'm sorry, and it gets ugly on top of it. You can't even be quiet about it. At least do it with grace, like Jimmy Garoppolo. Man, we done gave y'all more than I thought I was gonna give y'all tonight. I didn't even have it. I gave y'all an hour worth of content, great content that people can tune into. Y'all can disagree with me all you want, but you know it's true.
And you already know the vibes. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.
Peace.